Today, we're diving into a topic that's deeply personal for me: how the carnivore diet can help people struggling with disordered eating patterns. Hey, y'all, Carnivore Grannie here with your weekly dose of carnivore clarity. Now, before we start, I want to be clear: I'm not a doctor or a therapist. I'm a science nerd and a random granny on YouTube sharing my story and what I've learned along the way. If you're dealing with an eating disorder, please seek professional help. This video is for educational purposes and to share my personal experience and research. With that said, I know how exhausting it can be to feel trapped in cycles of restriction, binging, guilt, and obsession over food. For me, the carnivore diet became a surprising tool in breaking that cycle, and I want to share why. Before I ever started carnivore, I would restrict my eating to one meal a day all week long. But boy, oh boy, when the weekend came, it was on like Donkey Kong. Does anyone still say that? Well, anyway, every Friday I would order a couple of large pizzas, but hey, they were thin crust. I would also order a party sized bag of Lay's potato chips and a half-gallon of Bluebell ice cream. That would make up my eating plan for the whole weekend. This was a pretty dark time in my life. My father had just passed away suddenly. I was living alone in a new town in his house that he had left to me. I had no other blood relatives left on the planet other than my children, and food was my comfort and my friend. I quickly ballooned up to 220 pounds. Disordered eating isn't always a full-blown eating disorder, but it can still be incredibly damaging. It can look like constantly thinking about food. In the carnivore community, we call this food noise. You may be feeling guilty after eating certain things, like pizza and ice cream. Some go through the restricting, then binging cycles like I did every week. And then there's emotional eating, or eating to cope with stress. Yes, yes, and yes. The problem is many of us are stuck in a loop where food feels like the enemy. We must somehow figure out how to eat in a way that helps our body and our mind. We can't just abstain from food the way an alcoholic would abstain from alcohol if that were their particular addiction. And for years, I thought the answer was more willpower or stricter rules, but that only made things worse. So, what is the carnivore diet? It's essentially an all animal product way of eating: meat, fish, eggs, and sometimes dairy. No plants, no sugar, no grains. Now, you might be thinking, isn't that just another restrictive diet? And yes, it is somewhat restrictive in terms of food variety. But here's the twist: for many people with disordered eating, it actually reduces mental restriction and food noise. Here's why: the sheer simplicity. There's no calorie counting, no macro tracking, no endless decisions, at least in the beginning. It's very satiating. High protein and healthy fat keep you full for hours, reducing the urge to binge. This way of eating can greatly improve your blood sugar stability. No more sugar spikes and crashes that trigger cravings. You can have food freedom within boundaries. You can eat until you're satisfied, not miserable, without guilt. I used to wake up thinking about what I'd eat, how I'd make up for the weekend, and how I would avoid bad foods. I'd restrict all week, then binge every weekend. When I switched to carnivore, something unexpected happened. My cravings disappeared within a couple of weeks. I eventually stopped obsessing over food because my meals were simple and satisfying. I no longer felt the need to cheat because I wasn't feeling deprived in the same way. In fact, a cheat meal for me looks a lot like a ketovore meal now, so I don't even call it cheating. It wasn't magic. It was biology. My brain wasn't being hijacked by sugar highs and lows anymore. Let's break down the science. Protein and fat satiety signals. These macronutrients trigger hormones like peptide YY and cholecystokinin, telling your brain you're full. I lost all of that communication when I was overloading on processed carbohydrates. I had no off switch. Dopamine reset. Highly processed foods overstimulate dopamine pathways. Carnivore removes these triggers, helping your brain recalibrate. There's also reduced decision fatigue. Fewer food choices mean less mental energy is spent on eating decisions, which can reduce anxiety around food. This combination can help break the binge restrict cycle. Of course, carnivore isn't for everyone, and there's no such thing as a one size fits all way of eating. Some people may feel socially isolated, miss certain foods, or experience digestive changes. And if you have a history of severe eating disorders, it's worth repeating that you should only try this under professional supervision. Also, mental healing takes more than just changing your diet. Therapy, support groups, and self compassion are key. Although for many people, changing your diet can also mean changing your brain. A lot of people report decreasing anxiety and depression symptoms when they cut out the processed and artificial foods. If you're curious about trying carnivore as a tool for healing your relationship with food, here are some gentle, practical tips. Start gradually. You don't have to go all in overnight. Begin by replacing 1 or 2 meals a day with animal based options and see how your body responds. Eat until you're satisfied. In the beginning, don't restrict your portions. Let your hunger and fullness cues guide you. This is key to breaking the binge restrict cycle. Choose the highest quality foods you can afford. Not everyone can afford grass fed, free range, and wild caught, but the other options like grain fed beef and chicken are still much better options than anything on the standard American diet. Opt for nutrient dense meats like beef, lamb, salmon, and eggs, and organ meats if you enjoy them. I recently did a video about how to add organ meats very easily and slowly, and I'll link that video up here somewhere at the end of this video, just in case you want to check it out. It's also really important to stay hydrated and mind your electrolytes. Salt your food generously and consider magnesium or potassium if you feel sluggish. Pair your journey with emotional support like journaling, therapy, or talking with a trusted friend can help you process the emotional side of food healing. It can also shed some light on what certain foods do to your mindset. Remember, the goal isn't perfection, it's progress. The carnivore diet is just one possible tool in your toolbox. If you've been stuck in a painful cycle with food, know this: you're not broken and you're not alone. Don't let your mind trick you into thinking that you are broken or that you are alone. I decided to start this channel so we could all support each other in the comments and have respectful conversations. For me, carnivore wasn't about chasing a perfect body. It was and still is about finding peace with eating, feeling nourished, and finally quieting the mental noise around food. If you decide to try it or try it again, go in with curiosity, not punishment. And please work with a healthcare professional if you have a history of eating disorders. Thanks for spending this time with me today. I truly hope that I'm able to convey how grateful I am for each and every one of you sharing your story. If you found this helpful, please consider hitting that like button, subscribing for more content on the science of meat and health, and sharing your thoughts in the comments. I would honestly love to hear your story, and you never know who might read your comment and be helped by it. Never forget that the world is a better place with you in it, and I'll see you in the next one.